Hello, my name is Caitlín again and you're very welcome to the very first lesson here. I'm here and I'm playing the Swan Concertina, and just to start you off, here are the basics that I would give my students if I was starting them off on their very first lesson on the concertina. So the first thing you need to know is just how to hold it. So you hold it on your lap like this. You can hold it on both knees if you like. You can hold it on one knee or the other knee. It doesn't matter which knee you decide, whichever is most comfortable for you. I hold it on my right knee, but a lot of people hold it on the left knee, so whatever you prefer. The other thing is to make sure you have a straight back. Your posture is very important, because if you're playing in a session for 2 or 3 hours, you don't want to have a crumpled over back. And watch your shoulders as well. I see a lot of learners when they're starting, they crumple up their shoulders like this, and that can get very sore after a while. So try to relax your shoulders and keep your back straight. It's easy to do this and hunch over it, especially if you're reading notes. Try to keep your back straight and you won't get into any pain. So you hold it on one knee or the other knee. Just try and hold it over the centre of your body. Don't have it out to one side like this or the other side, because if you are playing in a session or playing for a few hours and you have it out like this, it ever so slightly curves your back, it twists your back, so you'll have a bit of pain then if you do that. So keep it over the centre of your body and you won't get any pain then. Okay, so we have 15 buttons on the left and 15 on the right. Some of you might have a concertina that only has 20 keys on each side, but what we have here is the more regular Anglo CG concertina, which is 30 keys. And the button here under your right thumb is the air button. So there's no note with that, it's just air. And you use that when you're running out of air. If you get stuck in here and you're playing all the notes that are going in, you can use the air to pull it out. Or likewise, if you're using notes that are all coming out, you can use it to get yourself back in there. So you have your hand in here, your other hand in here, and your right thumb is the button that plays the air button. Try not to get into the habit of bringing your first finger up here. A lot of kids do that because sometimes their little thumb can't reach out to the air button. But try and just get into the habit of using the thumb on the air button first, because that's what you will be using long term, is the thumb. Okay, so if we start on the left hand side first, and before we go to any notes, just a few simple rules that you should remember when you're learning all of your tunes. And if you stick by these few rules, then you won't have any trouble with fingering or technique down the line. So the first top 3 buttons here, those 3 buttons on the left hand side, 1, 2, 3, you play them with your first finger. So they're with your first finger, okay? Second 3 buttons are with your second finger. Third 3 buttons are with your third finger. And you cover the rest with your little finger, okay? So I call this my first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. I know in piano language it's different, but for the concertina, this is the first finger. So first 3 buttons, first finger, second 3 buttons, second finger, third 3 buttons. So if I ask you to play D, which we will learn in the next lesson, which is this button here, that's always on the third finger because it's the third button down, okay? You would never bring this finger down here to play D, or your little finger up to it or anything like that. You'll just run into bother and tangle up your fingers. So keep the third finger on D, second finger there, first finger there, just like that, okay? And you cover all the bottom ones down here for your chords with the little finger. I'd say this finger here is the hardest working finger that you'll use. It's the hardest working finger I use on the concertina anyway. It does all the work. So same thing on the right hand side. Top 3 buttons, first finger. Second 3 buttons, second finger. Third 3 buttons, third finger. And to be honest, we don't use these buttons down here on the right hand side very much. I couldn't even tell you what notes they are. So you don't need to worry about them yet. Just remember, top 3 buttons, first finger. Second 3 buttons, second finger. Okay? So, what else? Another thing to remember, and we'll go over this more in the next lesson, is not to hop. Try not to hop from one button to another button with the same finger. So if you're playing this button here, let's say high D, and your next note after that is G, try not to hop from D to G. So the way around that is that you have another G down here. So you have 2 G's there. Okay, so you would play then D, G, instead of hopping from D to G. So that's one way around it. Okay, so try not to hop. So when you hear me saying don't hop, that's what I mean, from one button to the other with the same finger. And the reason for that is because when you're playing at full speed in a session, you would have to cut the first note short to get to the second note in time if you're using the same finger. So you can actually hear it. I can hear it if you're cutting the first note short to get to the second note in time. Do you know? Okay, so that's why we try not to hop. So there's our first lesson. So there are a few of the basic rules to remember. Your posture, your shoulders, hold it on one knee or the other, not out here. Your air button, make sure you have the top 3 buttons, first finger, all of that. In the next lesson, we're going to actually start the scales. So we're going to do the D scale and the G scale. So you'll be playing notes in your next lesson. So I'll see you there.